So I took a couple days off. I guess about a week it's been since I made a video, but I want people to know I went out and did what I told everybody else to do, and I bought some books that I think will be censored in the future or not printed at all. Some of these books include Paron and Paronism by Kerry Bolton, Fascism for the Million by Sir Oswald Mosley. Fascism, 100 Questions Asked and Answered by Sir Oswald Mosley. The Chloron by Simmons, one of the guy that revived the Ku Klux Klan, and a bunch of books by Paul Bragg, who was a person that was instrumental in basically in creating what we would call salubrious living, which was later borrowed by Ben Clausen in his book Salubrious Living. Now, the first book I'm going to do a review of is the Chloron. But well, you know what? Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just get into why I think people need to grab up books that they think might be out of print or censored in the future. And the reason why is because we're going to need somewhere to build from. There is a surge of political correctness that's like Fahrenheit 451, where they're trying to X out all of the materials. Well, not even really just X out, they're trying to replace what we have with what they want it to be. In fact, there was a thing, explorers you should learn about instead of Columbus. Instead of explorers you should learn about alongside Columbus. But what was funny is it's from a book that's virtually fictional called They Came Before Columbus. And it's about how they believe the Olmecs may have been blacks, and how other black people allegedly came here. Not really, though. I mean, we have evidence that the Vikings came to North America, but we do not have evidence that blacks came to either North or South or Central America. Another thing that's interesting that I would point out is like with the Ainu. For many years, people thought the Ainu were mostly related to Caucasians, and then found out they were actually Australoid. This could be the case in South America. Many Australoids do have a very Negroid appearance. Now, I already suspected this with the Chechapoya. The Chechapoya are a pre-Columbian white, by white I mean light skin, light hair, light eyes, civilization that the Spaniards came across in their conquest of Peru. Now, what makes them interesting is I was under the impression there's this idea of the Solutreans, and I'll leave a link to that too. But the thing with the Solutreans, there's some evidence, but it's not really physical evidence, or I should say not really DNA evidence. But with the Chechapoya, there are mummies, there are things like that, but I don't think there's been any DNA extracted from any of these mummies to test, though, to see what they are. But my theory was that they would find out, like with the Ainu, that instead of being white, you would find out that they were Australoid. With the Olmecs, these faces that appear to be Negroid, one of the Australoid subgroupings is the New Guineans, and also Australian Aborigines, and again, they look very Negroid, but because they're not really genetically stable, you can see people that are, some of these Australoids will have red hair or blonde hair and dark skin and blue eyes, and it's very interesting the way that they come about. I used to joke that I'm always amazed that the Oceanians, the Aborigine people, I'm amazed that none of them were marsupials, because everything else in that area is a marsupial. It's actually kind of hilarious. They have marsupial wolves, marsupial tigers, marsupial everything. Some of them were hunted into extinction, what have you, but it's very interesting. And of course the duck-billed platypus, which actually still, as far as I know, it has never actually firmly been settled whether it was a bird or a mammal. Now, getting into the Chloron. Why did I buy the Chloron? Well, it's an interesting book. I've read it in the past. My father used to have a copy of it, which I read. This one's not really a great version of it. It's mostly photostated. Let me see if I can see it. It's mostly photostated pages. Let me see if I can. With my phone, I make these videos, so it might be difficult to see. So the pages are literally photostated. They're a photo of the actual original pages. So it's not like it was edited in any way or anything like that, which is kind of cool. But it's also not a very well-made book. I don't think it wasn't. I mean, it was worth the $11 because of the material contained in it and the information contained in it. But it's not a very well-made paperback book. But the reason I got it, it's what people would expect. It's the different oaths of the clan. It's the different rituals, things of that nature, and it's essentially how to set up a clavern, which is a congregation. It's where the rooms are located, the outer clavern, the inner clavern, what have you. So it's an interesting book. It's very basic stuff. It's not anything that you would expect. What people might be surprised about is that the clan does uphold Americanism. They uphold liberty. They uphold a lot of things that people would think they didn't uphold because they don't know anything about them. And that's all for this video, I think. I'm going to leave the links to the Papua New Guineans, the Australian Aborigine blood that was found in South American indigenous people, which is interesting because that's not like North American indigenous people. So that is interesting, and that leaves us to wonder, could this be, or leaves me to wonder, could this be where the Olmec civilization came from, or were these depictions that the Olmecs may have been, more Asiatic or regular Native Americans that depicted these Aboriginal people, perhaps. And that's all. I mean, that's all for this video. Take a look in the links. I'm going to leave a list of the books that I bought. I do recommend people buy these books, and also any other books that they think that might be going out of print, or that might be disappearing, or the price might be going up. And that's all for this video.